Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are here for yet another match of the Sevens. Samoa going to be taking on Japan in this exciting fixture. Now, if Samoa play well in this game and they do increase their points differential, there's a very good chance that we see them go through to the quarterfinals. It's just more of the case of are they going to be going through as first or in second. As you can hear, my voice is starting to struggle just a little bit, but hopefully we will be all right to continue throughout the rest of the sevens that we have got. This is the first of 7 more of these sevens live streams that we have got coming up, but we will look through these 7 starting one up for the Samoa side here. There's going to be Maleko, then Sione is there, and then Valvasa Afa, Paul Scanlon, who did very nicely in the last match, Milani Matavao, who did get a yellow card in their last game, but did end up turning around nicely, and Samoa able to get themselves to win there. Steve Ramoni, or also known as Steve Onisai, I believe it is. He has been sensational for them, actually scoring the first try of the match for Samoa in that last game. And then Owen Fetu will be slotting in there as the last man in that Samoa starting lineup. Then looking through at Japan, it is going to be Tashuka, then Nakagawa, Tomonaga, Ryota Kato. That's a lie. Ryota Kano, I should say there. Fukushi, Ishida, and Yamada is there as well. I will mention I haven't done too many of the Japanese games in the past, so I do struggle a little bit more with their pronunciations of the names than the Samoan boys, but I'm looking forward to once again seeing Steve Onisai in action, and alongside him, Paul Scanlon looks like he has found some very nice form recently, and also Va'a Apilo Maliko was able to get himself 2 tries in that last matchup for Samoa in their opening fixture where they did play up against the Welsh. And now currently we have got a game with only 1 second left here. Ireland sitting on 12 points. France sitting on 22. So France will be able to get themselves a win in that fixture. We did actually lose a little bit of time earlier on in the day due to a couple injuries, but now it looks like they have been able to make up that time very nicely. And it's going to be another try here for France to close out the game. So a very nice finish for Trabal. Now this next game, Japan versus Samoa, is just around the corner. But do let me know who you feel will be the standout performance for these two sides. For me, once again, I am going to be saying the man off the bench in this match, Sojima. He was phenomenal in the last one. And also Makisi for Japan did very nicely off that bench in the last matchup. Then for Samoa, it's got to be Steve Onisai. And then alongside him, I will go with that man that I mentioned a little bit earlier on, Va'a Apilo Maliko, as the other man that I'm looking forward to seeing in action. But this is going to be part of Pool D, I believe it is. Or sorry, Pool B for this team. And it's going to be a very exciting one because whoever wins this, like I mentioned, more than likely will be able to make their way through to the quarterfinals. And then that last game between New Zealand and Samoa will determine who is finishing first and who is finishing second in the pool. But starting to get to the business end of the competition in Toronto, Argentina and France both sitting at the top of the bunch for Pool D currently. Now only a couple more games left of that pool, and Samoa versus Japan. This will be their second game for both of these two individual sides, and both will be looking for a big performance. Now, I have to say, Japan played very well up against New Zealand. The score didn't quite go the way that they would have liked it to, but it was still a very impressive game. They were able to get themselves 2 converted tries in that one. But now, Pool B, we are about to be underway for this game, and I am going to say the opening try of this game will be scored by Paul Scanlon at a prediction. Hopefully I am somewhere close to being correct. Normally I'm a mile off with the predictions, but the game straight after this one, New Zealand versus Wales, which is going to be an awesome one to see. But Samoa now making their way out onto the field alongside Japan, who, if they can play like they did up against New Zealand, might be able to get themselves a couple tries. And also we have got the Mr. Beast in the chat. As I welcome into the live stream, mate. Hope you are doing well. But it is Nakagawa, the captain of the Japanese side. It's going to be so important that they don't drop their heads early on in this match because they've got the potential. And also, can you stream the New Zealand Warriors game at 4? Says Cats are the best. I would love to be able to, but I believe more than likely I will be sleeping at that stage, unfortunately, just because by then I think we would have been up for about maybe 26 hours or somewhere around there. But if I am still awake and I'm wide enough awake and George has already left from the filming session that we have got coming up, then I will try my very best to be able to do the NRL, but that will be probably more than likely on the Kiwi Lads Sport channel. So be sure to check that one out as well. But that is the Roosters game up against the Warriors, and that has taken place in 8 hours' time, but now going to be kicked off by, once again, Ryota Kano, kicked off long and nicely taken by Samoa in the form of Owen Fetu, He's got this one just outside of the 30-meter line. I'll sleep it as I says, get to the best here. More than likely, I will be sleeping at some stage throughout the night. I know that the quarterfinal matches start at about 5 a.m. New Zealand time tomorrow night, so I think that is when I am going to be waking up for our next day. But currently Samoa with a very nice attack going straight through. Paul Scanlon, he's going to get the first try, and I did predict it, and he will be able to go over, score the first try of the match for Samoa between the sticks, and it will be 7-0 now in favour of Samoa. Nice start to the match, pretty much the ideal dream start for Samoa in this game. But Paul Scanlon was able to score it, now gets the conversion over as well, just to add to his own tally of points. It's a great step from Scanlon, though. Go straight through that gap. And I was like, okay, who plays Super Rugby today? No one. It was all Friday and Saturday games, but next week we are going to get to see New Zealand sides taking on Australian sides. So that's going to be when it gets very exciting. Chiefs versus Waratahs is the very first game, and that will be on at 8:30 or 8 p.m., I think it is, on the Friday night. Now it's going to be kicked off long. Taken quite nicely by Japan. Now Fukushi under a lot of pressure from Big on his side. He has been told to release him 40 meters out from the line now for Japan, and looking to get a couple more phases in. Now, this is actually what they did up against New Zealand. They were able to get themselves a try relatively early on. But now it is going to be, I believe it was Shoka who did have the ball there for Japan. Nice run forward here for Fukushia. Once again, it's going to be dragged down to the breakdown. Samoa, I believe they do win the penalty. They sure do. And now going for another attack. It's going to be Sione. A couple nice steps here from Samoa. Fires the ball back into the hands of Scanlon. Almost hits a referee with it. But now Afa goes with the nice pop pass on the inside to Matavao. He goes through and he scores again. Well, this one, currently the scoreboard's very far behind, but Samoa have scored twice, and they are now sitting on 12-0 in favour of Samoa. Hopefully the scoreboard updates itself before the end of this match so that we can see how great Samoa are actually doing in it. And now it seems like it hasn't started as of yet, but it has indeed. And Matavao now scores the second try for Samoa. Nice easy kick will be available for them as well. So this will become 14-0 in favour of Samoa. That I'm really hoping the scoreboard starts to work out. Because if it doesn't, I'll probably just end up writing it down the bottom up until it does end up updating itself. In fact, I might do that now just to make sure you guys know exactly what the score is. But currently Samoa sitting on 14-0 of Japan. I bet you as soon as I load this up, it will update the score. Or not. Okay, so that is the scoreboard that we're going off here at this current point in time. Sione steals it. Sione goes and Sione scores again. Tell you what, I'm going to have to update that. Not only just did it. 21-0 now for Samoa, and it's going to be Sione who makes his way through. I wasn't expecting to try that quickly after the last one for Samoa, but that one probably took 30 seconds, if not maybe even just a little bit quicker. And also thanks, says Alex Samoa. And there as well, 21-0. In fact, sorry, that kick hasn't gone over, but I believe with the skill of Sione, he has made it a relatively easy kick for the kicker. That one goes over, and now the score 21-0 in favour of Samoa now over Japan. They've still got another 3.5 minutes left of this first half, and if they keep on scoring the way that they are here, they're going to have a lot of points by the end of this game. They could be looking almost at 100 here if they do get it right. But now, nicely taken here for Japan, 40 metres out from their own line, and they do have to try and build themselves a couple more phases. Fukushi, it's a penalty there to Japan. And the last thing that the Samoans will want to do is get a yellow card for discipline. That was Matavao, who was penalised in that first matchup. But we will be covering the next game for Samoa. That will be a massive matchup, and it is New Zealand versus Samoa, and what will be a very exciting game. Great kick downfield from Japan, and now on the 22-metre line, they are going to have themselves their first line out of the day. They will need to make sure that they do get this one right. I believe it is going to be once again Ryota Kano who has got this throw for Japan. But 2 minutes 30 left in this first half. And behind, nicely taken there for the line out. And now Japan just slowly driving their way forward. It's actually going to be an advantage now. Good attack and run. And it looks like, it's been put down there for Japan, unfortunately. And it could have been a try for Ishida if he was able to hang on to it. But just didn't quite manage to hang on to it. It was a good bit of draw and pass. Yamada went out into the hands of that man that I just mentioned before in the form of it was Ishida, but he wasn't quite able to hang on to it. in that circumstance. The scoreboard is really asleep, isn't it? Normally, like 2 minutes in or so, it works out what's going on. But today it's just gone nut. It's currently sleeping, saying that it is 8 a.m. here in New Zealand, so maybe it is actually sleeping. I possibly should have been sleeping, but we stayed up all night watching Sevens and other rugby. No regrets whatsoever here, but currently they are looking through at the standings. At the moment, Samoa 16th, but they're definitely going to make their way up a lot more when they get more games. Scanlon now fires it back for Samoa, only about a metre out from their own line, and now Onasai drops the head, and he has been absolutely phenomenal throughout this season. Still available here for Samoa. Loose ball. Japan try and pounce on it, but it's not going to quite work out. And now it is going to be Afa, who does make his way up nicely to the 22. Still available here for Samoa. Might get our pass into the hands of Sione with a couple good steps, getting driven backwards. Oh, it's woken up. Okay, the scoreboard has now said that it is 0-0 after 1 minute. Hopefully it does update by the time we get to halftime. Wide cutout pass. Now going into the hands of, it is once again going to be Va'a Apilelu. Or Apilo Maliko. He's after this one. Waiting for the ball to bounce. It just sits up. What a fin that is. Just uses all of the power in his arm. Fins off the defender. And that's going to be another try for Samoa now. And they are going to be sitting on 28-0. He is loving the performance that he just put in. He knows that that fin was a very good one. But the scoreboard has now updated itself. So we'll go like this. And we will go like this. But nicely done by that man once again. Va'a Apelo Maliko. Now, in the first Sevens tournament, which was actually Singapore, Onasai was the man scoring a majority of the tries. Now it seems like Va'a Apelo Maliko might be the man who gets a majority of them for this next matchup. But I will mention anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. The reason, if you are watching this game and you're wondering why do the players all have tape on their elbows and their knees, it is because the turf is extremely rough and it just ripped through you. I believe it is artificial, or it might not be artificial, but it is something along those lines. That was a nice kick. Straight down the middle, 28-0 now. And Amataval kicks us off to get this half just at the very end. Fukushi, nice run. Now almost trying to make his way up to the halfway line. Japan just needs some sort of attack here just to give them a bit of confidence. And Aussie still strong, mate, says Gareth doing well. I thought that having that hour or so off would have really taken it out of me, but I'm actually still feeling pretty wide awake. Which is always ideal. Penalty there in favor of Japan. Taking the quick tap now. Gets back up to his feet. And it is going to be Morita. That was close to forward. But it is going to be play on just for now. Ball on the outside. Out to Fukushi. He puts the head down and scores the try for Japan. And that is a nice try to get right at the end of the first half. Japan, they strike back. And it was in the form of Muke Fukushi, who was able to score it. A good run in the end. They've actually made a couple early subs here for Japan, and I'm looking forward to seeing Sojima go up against some Samoan big boys in the second half. And also another player will be actually Sitaliki Tulfa Maliki, I think it is, or Makisi, I think it is. He is going to be one to watch out for because he scored one in the first match for Japan up against New Zealand. And now halftime in this game, it will be 28 points to 5 at the moment in favour of Samoa. And their next game, it's going to be up against New Zealand. That game is taking place at about 11:30 a.m. New Zealand time. We will be up and we will be covering that game of rugby. So if you are new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But currently the next game that we have got is New Zealand versus Wales. We then have a little tiny bit of a break of about maybe 20 minutes or so. And then after that, we are into the game between Fiji and Kenya, which is kicking off in just under an hour's time. How long in? It is halftime currently. That says 4 minutes, but don't believe it because it is trying to lie here a little bit. But it is halftime currently in the game. The good news is by the time halftime is over, it might be up to 7 minutes, and then it will be able to continue for that second half. But currently, Samoa have been looking strong. 4 tries, 4 visits to the opposition 22. Every time they go in there, they score. And that is a brilliant strike rate to be able to have. Then looking through at the next games after that we are going to be covering, it will be South Africa versus Canada. And then we have got a couple games of round 3 that we will be doing, including New Zealand, Samoa, Fiji versus USA, and Australia, South Africa. So after we finish this one, we've still got 6 more Sevens live streams. And then after that, we are going to be back for the quarterfinals. If it was for a mind, it would be crying if I'm a Japan fan. or if it was 4 mins, I would be crying if I was a Japan fan. Yeah, certainly not the start that they were after. I mean, they scored in the very first minute with Paul Scanlon was able to go over. Now off the bench, they've still got the option of Falaniko, also Sautui Huta, I believe it is. And then also a couple other big names that could come off the bench in the later stages. But now the second half about to get underway. Matawao will be kicking off for Samoa. That one hasn't gone 10. He's actually struggled a little bit with the kicks today. And I think a majority of the kickers have. Unfortunately, just not quite getting the distance that they are requiring. And now Japan from the halfway line will have the option of either a tap or a scrum. And they decide on the scrum. So probably a smart move, lure in a couple of the Samoan defenders, get them into a scrum. I see Sojima is out on the field currently. I don't see any sight, though, of Sitaleki Malfa Makisi, I believe that is the name. I'll be honest, I don't know some of these Japanese players as well as I possibly should, but normally it is because they get, unfortunately, knocked out of the competition a little bit earlier on than some of these other sides, so I don't get as many games that I do get to commentate for them. It went down on the far side there. I believe it was on the side. It was a little bit shaky in the scrum time. Only 6 minutes left in this matchup. But New Zealand, their next game's up against Wales. If they win that, then it will mean that Samoa and Samoa and New Zealand will both be jockeying for that number 1 spot. It's a very rough scrum. Everyone was just going all over the place, but it's worked out for Japan. And now Fukushi here has been one of the standouts throughout this game for Japan. Matavao trying to join the breakdown, unable to do so. Sojima now passing it across. Pop pass up now to the number 10, who was coming off the bench, Morita. It's a penalty in favor of Japan for the high tackle. Taking the quick tap now, and Japan seem like they're going to be taking it up to the next gear here. It's dropped and now taken very nicely by Va'apilo. Maliko running sideways, trying to win the foot race. Bumps off one of the Japanese players, using his strength to his advantage there. Has been dragged down 40 meters out for the line now for Samoa. Sione now going across. It's going to be a good chip and chase, and he's going to have the pace to possibly win it. He kicks it forward once again on his side, having a good battle there. He wins it, and now it has gone backwards, and it is going to be a run-in try for, it is once again, who else other than their number 9 for this one? It is going to be Falaniko, who was able to jump on that ball and score the try for Samoa. Very nicely done. Was the kick in behind from Onosai. He was winning the foot race, but then from there it got a little bit scrappy between him and the Japanese defender. And in the end, just enough done to be able to get it into the hands of Onosai. It was knocked backwards, and the tackle of Sojima sits up nicely for Falaniko, and he does end up scoring the try. Puts it down. So thanks very much for coming. And now Samoa, they will move themselves up to 35 points to 5. So currently trying to up what the Kiwis were able to do. That's going to go, was that out on the full? I believe it was from, unfortunately, once again, a little bit of a mistake from Matavao at the kickoff time. That seems to be such a common occurrence for both sides. Or in fact, pretty much all sides. Also the one of not taking the kick in time. We've actually seen that probably about 4 times so far throughout this sevens, but now pass across to Sojima. Once again, looking to try and link up. He has been dragged down nicely every time Matavao is in that breakdown, trying to turn it over. Now another great run forward. Backline movement starting to open up here for Japan, and it's a run-in try. And it's going to be the try of that number 13 I was mentioning earlier on. Sitaleki Taufa Makisi, has been able to score that try. His second for Vancouver. He scored in the first match up against the Kiwis. Scores in the second match up against Samoa. It was just great draw and pass. It looked like Samoa didn't have enough defenders back there. And now Japan are going to be able to get themselves another try. Just missing away to the side, and that will make the score remaining at 35 points to 10 in favor of Samoa. Now, if they get one more unconverted try, it's a very similar score to what we saw between New Zealand and Japan. But I like the fact that Japan, even though they are going to be bottom of the table more than likely, unless, of course, they have a massive upset up against Wales. But the thing that I like is the fact that they've still been able to get themselves 1 or 2 tries per game, and it's actually 2 tries currently. As we said, that is kicked over the touchline once again. Unfortunately, another mistake there, and that was Morita that time, who did kick that one straight into touch. Now it's going to be the quick tap opportunity here for the number Va'apilo Maliko. Now passing it across field. Oh, a bit of a juggle there from Scanlon. Bit of a unforced error that normally we don't see from him. Unfortunately, did get that one a little bit wrong, but 2 minutes left in this game. And it still has the potential of Samoa being able to get to around that 45 points, if not maybe a few more, if they do get themselves a quick try. But for now, it is going to be once again another opportunity for Nakagawa. Put this ball in. Waiting for it. It's gone down in the front row, and it's going to be the advantage to the Japanese. They do take the quick tap here, and they will be on the halfway line currently. Trying to find their way through it is going to be Makisi once again. Good tackle on him by, I believe, I want to say it was Faialangi. They have a nice tackle made on him. Another good step here from Japan. Currently driving forward very nicely. Saojima joining the breakdown to stop it from being able to be a turnover. It's a little knock on from Japan, though, at first receiver. And now Samoa will once again have themselves another opportunity. I think it was Morita who once again has put that ball down. Just a few too many mistakes. Or in fact, sorry, it's number 2. This one, Nakagawa. The last 4 handling errors, we've seen 3 of which going against the Japanese. Just something you really cannot afford in a game where you've got someone as clinical as Samoa lining you up. Every single time you make a mistake, they will score a try. And that is the way they love to play the game of rugby. But currently, still another minute and 17 seconds left. Carry's actually pretty even, although Japan having a slight edge in there. Samoa having more offloads. 2 made. I would love to see Samoa versus Fiji. That is one that it's kind of a dream matchup, and I'm going to check whether or not it's possible in the quarterfinals. So Pool A and Pool D play, Pool C and Pool B play. Pool A and Pool D. No, we don't get to see it until maybe a semi-final fixture. We might get to see Samoa versus Springboks or Blitzboks possibly, if that is a possibility. Well, they've been out driving their way forward once again here for Samoa, looking for the pass on the outside instead. Decides against using it. That's a little knock on the ground there. And now it will be Japan once again with the scrum feed. 40 meters out from the Samoan line. If they can get themselves over the line one more time, it will be absolutely huge for them here. Falaniko, just a mistake. He did score the try earlier on, though, and what was a very impressive one. But currently only 30 seconds left on the clock now. This would probably be the last play of the day. Well, the last play of the game, I should say. Both of these sides still have one more game left. Wales will be playing up against Japan. Samoa will be playing up against New Zealand. And that one, it's going to be an advantage once again for Japan, trying to go straight through. He is dragged down very nicely, going back for the initial penalty now. I believe currently Falaniko just not quite able to find his momentum in the breakdown. Saojima going to be taking the quick tap, decides to go for a last 6 penalties. We have seen 5 against Samoa in a row since 5 minutes into this game, which is discipline. That is certainly something that they will have to work on before the end of this competition. Now it's Ishii that start in the starting lineup up against New Zealand. Another advantage here for Japan. So at the moment, Samoa, they're going to have to be careful not to get a yellow card here. Now decided to swatch advantage over. Great step there. And now getting closer and closer. It was Mirigami. Did have that Saojima now, a lot of pressure on him. It's gone backwards. It's set up for Samoa. It was a forward pass. And that is going to be the end of this game. 35 points to 10 in favor of Samoa. Very nicely done. They get themselves yet again another victory. That is 2 from 2 currently for Samoa. So that will book them a spot in the final. But the big question is, will they qualify first or second? They have got New Zealand in their next game. Although saying that, Wales, they are going to be playing New Zealand in a very short moment, and we are going to be covering that one on the channel. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are going to be transferring straight over to our next live stream that is taking place pretty much right now. But I will see you all for New Zealand versus Wales in a very short